Hey everybody, how are you doing? Oh, I'm out on a beautiful early morning walk. I was just talking to my ex-stepmother, and so I actually am going to share below a link that I think you should click on. It goes to a Substack and by someone else, and it's very brief. It's like a really short video, and there may be more in the Substack, but what's really perfect about this video is that it's a reminder of this thing that I want to talk about real briefly, which is that we know so much more today about the human body, we have scientific tools available to us that 100 years ago people couldn't even imagine. I mean, they didn't even have the context to even comprehend or understand, like, imagine, mapping the human genome and all this other stuff. So it makes logical sense if you gain a whole bunch of information over a century and you have 1,000 times better scientific tools, knowledge, understanding, experience. It makes a lot of sense to update. Hello, we do this with our phones all the time, right? Update everything in our lives that is based upon scientific principles. We know that if they discover a new way of building skyscrapers so that they're not going to fall over in the middle of a 7.9 earthquake, and then we expect that unfortunately, the government that regulates and approves building standards would then say, hey, there's this new technology. It's like asbestos. We want you using this new insulation and not the stuff that was really popular 100 years ago. Because why? We've updated our knowledge and we understand that the asbestos was really bad for these reasons, blah, blah, blah. So there's a hole that needs to be fixed. So we understand the concept, right? And so this particular video is talking about why sunglasses are harmful. And it's amazing. Now, I haven't been able to personally go out and double check and make sure everything they've said is accurate. It sounds pretty potentially legit. It's talking about how the wide range of UV light that comes in through the eyes actually has an effect on the pineal gland, which makes a lot of sense. That's like a master gland, really important. And one of the things that happens is that the proper natural reaction of my body to my eyes seeing the sun, that informs my body of how much sun is out there, which actually has an effect, apparently, on how the body chooses to produce melanin for the skin. So it makes sense. The eyeballs take in the sunlight, the brain says, oh, look, there's a lot of sun. And then it says, well, we should tan up. We should add melanin to our skin, which is our natural way of withstanding the radiation that comes from the sun through our skin. But when you put on sunglasses, you're confusing the brain and you're telling it that it's dark out there, that there's not a lot of sunlight. So then your body's going to produce less melanin, blah, 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 blah. So it's not like this video drills down and gives you some absolute answer, but it says, look what we've learned, look what we've discovered, look at the effect that sunglasses are having. Now, I like sunglasses. Because otherwise, it can be painful sometimes if the sun's bright. But I also can respect that something that makes me feel more comfortable may not actually be the best thing for my body, because there's people out there who they like to drink 3 beers in the evening because it makes them feel relaxed and happy. But that's not probably good for their liver. Okay, so and I might say, oh, I'll wear sunglasses in particular situations on a really bright day type of thing for a few hours, whereas there's people who habitually wear sunglasses constantly. So I'm not an extremist on anything. So sure, go for it. Figure it out. But what it reminded me of was that probably 100 years ago, we didn't have the capacity or the opportunity, ability to understand that. So when we created sunglasses, all we thought was, oh, this is going to be beneficial for solving this issue that we don't like. And we didn't know the long-term effects. Okay. This is absolutely true for everything. And that includes, of course, this concept of how do we improve health in the public and for humans. Oh, let's go ahead and start doing these things called vaccines. That's an old idea from about 150 years ago was really when it got going, before cars existed, when people were riding around in horses and buggies, and frankly, when doctors were still bleeding people in order to heal them from disease. So even though we may have added high tech to the idea of using the immune system in a particular way in order to create an immune protective reaction in the future when a person gets exposed to something, even though we've added high tech to the concept, it makes a lot of sense to actually look at everything and say, but does the concept still make sense? And what are the unintended consequences? I can put on a pair of sunglasses and immediately my eyes won't be so squinty, and I might enjoy, there's usually a color effect of it. And oh, look, I can see the clouds more, they're so pretty. I can put on my sunglasses and still get those benefits. But if I discover that there's an unintended negative, that I'm more likely to get skin cancer as a result of being a habitual wearer of sunglasses, I might say, oh, well, do I still want to do that? Do the costs outweigh the benefits once we understand the costs? And so the sunglass industry, a bunch of people who are making a ton of money selling sunglasses, fashion designers. I mean, I just got home from Korea. When you go through big airports, you walk past, I don't understand this, but I don't buy high-end stuff, so that I'm not part of that culture. But here you are in the middle of an airport and you're walking by all these duty-free stores with Dolce Gabbana or whatever the names are of these fancy labels. Everything's like $1,000 just to walk in the door, $500 socks type of thing. And sunglasses are this huge thing. The fashion world loves sunglasses. So there's all these people making a ton of money off of sunglasses. If you were to say, hey, sunglasses should be sold, but people should be informed of this side effect, and they should be empowered to understand that they should maybe wear sunglasses as an occasional fashion thing, but not as a constant chronic thing because it could have this unintended consequence. Let's just tell them. You would have the sunglass industry put a lot of energy and effort into suppressing that information, silencing that information, just like the cigarette companies didn't want to have warnings on their boxes that say this will give you lung cancer or you'll get emphysema, it'll cause you to age prematurely. Every time something becomes profitable and people make money off of it, they are automatically inclined to ignore, dismiss, and silence information that is discovered that runs contrary to their profit. And the same exact thing is exactly what's been going on in the vaccine industry. If vaccines had always been managed by the government, paid for with our tax dollars, and no one made any profit at all, it was simply an expense and a cost and a drain on our economic, assets. Then if people said, well, hey, we see this possible positive, but we now have all these new diseases and all these new injuries and all these new conditions, autoimmune conditions are rampant. Everyone's immune system is trying to kill themselves, and we've been messing with immune systems. Oh, there's a correlation there. Let's look into it. Oh, there's brain inflammation. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. If there was zero profit in vaccine technology and it was 100% an economic drain, then there would be no motivating factor against exploring what we've discovered in the past 50 years alone when it comes to all of our new advanced diagnostic tools and our ability to collate information, and also the changes that 100 years ago you didn't have antibiotics, so people were dying of bacterial infection. You had very little water sanitation. People, were getting sick. Diseases could spread through the water. Conditions were completely different. And now conditions have shifted. And all of this, just logically, it makes sense to take it into account and to ask questions, to reevaluate, and to update our strategies for how we respond and our decisions about what tools we want to use and what tools we don't want to use. But unfortunately, vaccines went into the private corporate world. They became incredibly profitable. And so there's right now, sort of a big dogfight over whether we're going to actually update our understanding of how the immune system works and have conversations about the pros and cons. And are we willing to look at the actual people being injured? Are we willing to have that discussion? It's harder. The part of the reason we're having a hard time talking about this isn't because we shouldn't talk about it. It isn't because our 100-year-old idea is perfect and will be perfect for thousands of years to come, and anyone who suggests otherwise is a lunatic. We're not struggling because there's nothing to talk about. We're struggling because all the new information coming forward threatens the profitability of vaccines for international drug companies. So anyways, I just think that all of us need to always remember that if a person or entity or corporation is facing an economic threat, we should expect them to fight against it. And that means that when they do fight against it, we should take their fight with a grain of salt, and we should say to them, we're sorry if maybe you might lose profit, but we actually logically, at our best as humans, we should do this evaluation. We should revisit this question. We might come up with the same answer, but if we go through a revisit and exploration and discussion, and then we still have the same answer, well, then we can feel really confident about it. But if we're not talking about it because the conversation's being suppressed, then you can't have confidence in the outcome because it's the result of suppression. Anyways, so yeah, I just like let's just do better. Let's just be okay talking about things, because what's the point of developing new technology and greater scientific skills and understanding if we're not applying it to our lives and actually living differently today than 100 years ago, because we know more. All right, talk to you later.